Today we're going to be working on this blue Ford that I picked up last week. What we're going to be doing on this is changing out the loader valve. This tractor is a customer of mine, and this thing has been leaking hydraulic fluid from the loader valve for a long time now. It's actually leaking out one of the ports here in the back of the valve. It's all wet right in through here, and there's some caps on the end of the valves. I think it's got bad gaskets, and I'm sure it's got other issues, because another reason it's here is because the loader valves are actually sticking. So sometimes when she's booming up with the loader doesn't want to stop going up even after she lets off the lever. So the loader will just continue to go up, and she's afraid she's going to put it through the ceiling of her garage. So she got sticking valves and leaking valves, and we've tried to get parts of these. She'd called the New Holland dealer, but since this has an aftermarket loader on it, finding parts of this is pretty tough. Not to mention, this loader valve, I believe, is just like a generic loader valve, so finding parts of these would be very hard. For us, it's really not worth it. I went to tractorsupply.com, and I was able to pick up a loader valve for like 280 bucks. So basically what we're going to be doing today is tearing off all these hydraulic lines. I'm going to get this valve ripped off, and then I'm going to have to try to mount the new valve. The new valve has ports that are actually coming off the top for the lines instead of underneath. So it's going to get it mounted on the top of the plate instead of underneath the plate. I checked, and I think I'm going to have just enough room on this plate to drill through it and get a couple mounting holes. As you can see here, there's only 2 bolts holding this existing manifold on. So I'm just going to drill 2 holes for the new loader valve and mount it that way with some grade 8 bolts, and that should be just fine. I've got all these lines all marked out. So we've got our hydraulic flow in, hydraulic flow out. I've also marked the lines with the colors that are going to them so that they're corresponding with the colors that are tied around them over here by the loader valve. So I got all that figured out. I also made myself a nice little diagram so I don't get confused on what line goes to which shouldn't really be a big deal anyway, because we got 4 couplers here to disconnect the loader. So if anything is backwards, all I got to do is switch some of these couplers around and we should be all set there. All right, so the loader valve I went with is made by Chief. It's rated from 1500 to 3000 PSI, so I knew that was good because that's right in the range of this tractor. Typically these small compact tractors, they range between about 2000 and 2800 PSI. They very rarely ever go above 3000 PSI, so I knew that would be good there. It's a 25 GPM for the flow, so that's plenty of GPM because these little tractors don't push anything near that. It's a 4-way valve, which is what we needed. It has a float detent in it, and it also has an adjuster for your hydraulic pressure. It said in the manual that the factory pressure is set at 2000 PSI. That's probably where it is on that tractor right now, so I think I'm going to try that first, see how the loader feels, and if you have to turn it up, you just simply turn that valve adjustment right there, and that's how you increase your hydraulic pressure. Over here on the back side of the box, you can see a little bit more specs. It shows right here it's a differential poppet style relief. Preset pressure is 2000. Right here under the recommended application, the very first one is front end loaders. So this valve should do exactly what we want it to do. Like I said, it's set up very similar. The only difference is the lines are coming off the top versus the bottom. So I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be removing all 4 lines and switching them from the bottom of that old valve to the top of this new valve. So it should be pretty easy. Over here, I set up myself a little diagram. Tractor seat off to the right, we've got yellow, blue, green, and red. So that way I don't forget what's what. And then I also marked what directions do what. So pulling down on the left stick will boom up. Pushing up on the left stick will boom down. Up on the right stick is curling out. And down on the right stick is curling in. So should be all set there. I'm going to go ahead and start ripping off the hydraulic lines on this valve. I'm going to start right down below here. Just removing all 4 of these quick couplers. I'll get these hoses out of my way. And then I'll start twisting off all these fittings off the bottom of the block here. We'll pull off this old loader valve. And then we'll start mocking up the new valve. Okay, so this last fitting is interfering with this other fitting here. So to get that off, I want to get this whole valve out of the way so I can get it up on a bench so I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the valve off the frame. So now I got the valve off. You guys can kind of see it a little bit better underneath. So the problem I'm having is I can't swivel off this fitting because there's another fitting right here in my way. And unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of room here for me to get a wrench in to get this fitting off. So what I'm just gonna do is remove the hydraulic fitting off the end here, and I'll see if I can come up with my own fittings. Then if I have to come back to these at a later date, I'll worry about it then. All right, there we go. We got the valve removed and all pulled apart. So now we can go ahead and start mocking up the new valve and go from there. Okay, so this new valve is just gonna lay right on top of this bracket here. And I'm gonna have just enough room to drill a couple mounting holes. There's one hole I'm gonna drill right here, and then there's another hole I'm gonna drill right on this corner here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this valve where I want it. I'm gonna make a mark. I'm gonna drill this hole out first so I can throw a bolt through it. And then that way this thing will be held in place so that I could throw a drill bit right through this hole here, and it'll guide me right on through the metal here. Okay, so now I got this valve positioned where I want it. I got a center punch here. Just gonna line it up in the center of this mounting hole here and give it a good smack. To hold this down, I got 3/8 inch bolts. They're grade 8, and I've got a nylon locking nut for the bottom. Okay, now that I've got one bolt in the valve and I've got it secured in place, now I can go ahead and throw my 3/8 drill bit through this last mounting hole here, and I can give myself a nice straight drill all the way through the metal. I'll get my last bolt in here, and then this thing should be nice and secure. Got that nice and tight, got it where I want it. So now what we can start doing is installing the main 2 hydraulic lines that feed the hydraulics to the loader valve. So we have our hydraulic in, and then we have our hydraulic out. Our ports here are labeled. We've got out here, and then we've got it labeled in here. So these fittings are on the side, and they are 3/4. So what I did was I got a 3/4 to 3/8 bushing. So that's gonna get threaded into there, and then I got a street 90, and our hydraulic line is gonna thread right into that. After we get that done, we can figure out exactly how we're gonna do our main 4 hydraulic lines going to the loader. We'll put a good amount of thread paste on here and thread it on in. Okay, so we got the return line all mounted up, so that looks good, nice and tight against the loader valve here. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing over on this side with the feed line. All right guys, well, we've got the feed line and return line all mounted up. So this is what it looks like. Everything's nice and tight here. So now what we need to work on is installing the loader lines. Here's all 4 lines right here slung over the boom. So all of these just need to come off with fittings to their proper locations and get plugged in. It's actually going to be even easier for them to unplug these now if they got to remove their loader. They'll be right up on top here. So that's gonna be nice for them. But yeah, we got plenty of hose length here. Everything's going smooth so far. It's getting pretty late in the day, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up for today. I'll be back out here again tomorrow to hopefully finish this up. Now that it's the next day, I picked up all the hydraulic fittings that we need to finish off connecting the 4 main hydraulic couplers. So what I'm gonna do first is remove all the old hydraulic fittings off of these 2 couplers and start installing our new fittings. Okay, we got the old fittings off and the new fittings on. Had to heat the one up with my little mini torch because I don't know what they use for sealant, but man, it was like hard as a rock. So got that apart, got the new ones on. Now we can go ahead and thread our bushings in, our nipples, and get these threaded into the back side of the loader manifold. Okay, so we're gonna get our 1/2 inch to 3/8 bushing installed first. And we'll thread our nipple in place. Now this back left fitting, that's going to be the green one. Just snug it up for now because I'm sure I'm going to have to readjust this fitting and kind of move it around left to right. Okay, so that's one done. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process on this other back one here, and then we can go ahead and work on getting the front ones installed. Okay, now with these front fittings, I'm gonna go straight from the bushing to these hydraulic elbows, and then right off the elbow will come the fitting. All right, we should be all set with the front fittings now. Now we can go ahead and rotate the back ones, hopefully right over top here. I'm gonna snug them back down. Okay, should be all set now. I've got all the hydraulic couplers installed and tightened down. You can see I was just able to clear the front couplers with the back ones. I'm hoping I'm able to get the lines plugged in without any problems, and as long as they do, we should be all set to test this thing out. Make sure we ain't got no leaks, and we'll run it a little bit. So yeah, let's try to plug these lines in and see what happens. Okay, so the first line is the green line. Got plenty of room to get that on and off. Next we'll do the red line, and we'll do yellow, and lastly blue. Okay, now that they're all plugged in, you guys kind of see what they look like. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I'll make sure that these don't rub anything. I'll throw a couple zip ties on these just to hold them nice and tight over here. But we had plenty of hydraulic hose, as you could see. And as long as we got no leaks, we should be all set. The only other thing I got to worry about is if I have these lines in the right positions or not. So I got to make sure that like my boom up and boom down is not backwards. And same with my curl in and curl out. Because this manifold was upside down or backwards from the other one. So hopefully I've got these hydraulic lines installed in the right locations. Worst case scenario, all I got to do is flip these lines around and then just change the color coding after I get done figuring out where they go. Let's go ahead and start this thing up and let it bleed out a little bit. I'll let it idle, and once we get some hydraulic flow going, I'll go ahead and test it out. seems to be working just like it was before. I checked the loader down pressure because I did that before I switched valves, and I just kind of wanted to feel out what the pressure felt like. So I'd have to say that this probably increased the pressure just by a little bit, depending on where this adjustment was at. But as far as I'm concerned, it's exactly where it was before, if not a little bit better. So I'm gonna leave it right where it's at. I looked around, I didn't see any hydraulic leaks whatsoever. That hydraulic paste I use is really good stuff. And this stuff actually kind of hardens and dries. So it really does a good job. You can see there's absolutely no leaks anywhere. So I'm really happy about that. That was a lot of fittings, and I was actually afraid that, you know, something was gonna leak, or maybe even the valve itself was gonna leak because it was so cheap. All right guys, I ran it a little while longer. Double checked the fluid, double checked the loader, went up and down, made sure all these lines were good. I threw a couple zip ties. I got one here, just to keep this whole cluster of hoses all nice and tightly together. He's got a nice little bungee right here, which allows him to flex. That's good. We got plenty of room there. Double checked, no leaks. Good there. I've got her old valve all boxed up for her with the manual for her new valve. Let's go ahead and get the trailer hooked up to the truck. We'll get this thing loaded up and take it back to her because it's supposed to rain later this afternoon, and I can already feel the clouds rolling in. So definitely want to get this back to her. Okay guys, well, we got the tractor all dropped off, put away, got the trailer all loaded back up here, so I'm gonna go home now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was something new to you guys. Hopefully you learned something. Like I said, that was just like a generic loader valve from Tractor Supply. So if you guys want to do that to your tractor, if you've got a tractor that has a bad loader valve, I would definitely recommend that one, and I'll keep you guys posted with how it works out for her. And if we have any issues with it, I'll definitely let you guys know. So I'm gonna get home, get unloaded, and relax the rest of my weekend. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next one.